Welcome back to the Significant Coaching Podcast. I'm Coach Matt Rogers. This week's guest is Scott Winterburn, head baseball coach at the University of Verne in Southern California. I had the pleasure of working with Coach Burn for 3 years, and he made an indelible impact on me as a coach, father, and leader. He's one of the brightest baseball minds in the country and a true leader of young men. After leading his alma mater, Asuza Pacific, for 1 year, Scott took over the Leopard program in 2001 and quickly turned it into a national power. He's led the Leos to 6 SCIAC titles and 8 NCAA National Tournament appearances in the last 23 years. Most recently, he was named SCIAC Coach of the Year and D3Baseball.com Region 10 Coach of the Year in both 2023 and 2024. Scott has had 6 players move on to play professionally, including Scott Lindeen, who was a 26th round pick by the Miami Marlins in 2005, and his All-American son, Joe Winterburn, who was drafted in the 40th round by the Boston Red Sox in 2014. After 32 years of collegiate coaching, Burns still has the same energy and passion for coaching he had in his 20s, and let me tell you, it's contagious. We had a great conversation about everything from program building, the new NCAA roster and scholarship rules, and of course, his great wisdom and advice to families about college recruiting. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button on all of our platforms you find the Significant Coaching Podcast, like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio, where you can listen to past and future episodes with all my great high school, college, and professional guests. I also encourage you to check out my book on college recruiting, Significant Recruiting, my weekly blog, or schedule a free college or recruitment evaluation with me at CoachMattRogers.com. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Coach Scott Winterburn. Coach, how many kids do you carry on your roster?
Typically, I carry about 35. The last couple of years has been pretty big. I had 49, 50 kids on our roster last year, and probably in the mid-40s the year before. So the last couple of years have been pretty large, but typically 35 to 40.
How is that for you and your staff when those numbers grow? Do you change how you practice or what drills you do or what things that are routine in your days?
Yeah, I think once I get to a certain number, which is in the mid-30s to 40, then I can effectively do 2 things at one time. And for me, that is getting guys at bats and innings pitched that didn't get a chance to pitch during the weekend, and it gives them a realistic game to play that week. And then it gives me the chance to keep and develop a couple of guys that I think might pop in a year or two, and I get to develop them every day. There's a method to it, and I wouldn't have it any other way here at Verne.
Yeah. Are you still surprised at the end of a year on who pops and who doesn't?
Oh yeah, and hopefully we'll get into some recruiting later, and I got a good story for you there. But yeah, absolutely. You think, I can't believe how much stronger this guy has gotten, or, look at how much his body has changed, and look how it's affecting his performance. And so those things, and then other guys, gosh, I thought this guy was going to really be something, but then it turns out for whatever reason, he's not performing. So yeah, it definitely surprises every year.
Yeah. It always makes me happy when you're watching a Major League Baseball game and they bring a kid in out of the bullpen and they go, this kid was drafted in the 32nd round out of Wofford or Laverne or something like that.
Right.
That makes me feel really good. That kid showed, hey, somebody took a chance on me and I made it work.
Yeah, it does show that in sports, there's still room for the guy, and I hate to sound cliche, but the guy that really wants to get after it, he needs it. He's all about it, and he just won't take no for an answer. There's room for that guy in sports.
That's right. It's the Tom Brady effect.
Yeah.
I love those stories. The reason I want to talk about roster size is I want to throw a hypothetical at you because the NCAA just made this huge, impactful rule change that is going to affect, I think, everything at the college level. And I think there's going to be a huge trickle down. It doesn't directly affect you at the Division III level, but I think in the next 2-3 years, you're going to see a huge difference here. So let's say you're a Division I coach they're like you. They've been trying to carry 42, 45 guys just because they want more arms. They want to develop kids. And they have 11.7 scholarships for all those kids.
Yeah.
So now the NCAA is saying, we're capping your roster at 34. You cannot have another kid after that 34th kid. No walk-on, no redshirt, 34. But we're going to give you 34 full rides.
Yeah.
What is that? What's the first thing that pops in your head in terms of what you would do strategically if you were limited to that number?
If I was limited to 11.7?
No, to 34.
If I was, because 11.7, we've all done the math, depending on if you're at a state school or whatever, your private school or tuition, all that stuff. So we know that you can probably do the whole thing with about 60% across the board, which a lot of schools go that route.
Right.
And then schools put their money in the mound and then just try to build, the rest of their roster however they can. But, with 34, I would say, remember when the rules across the board for everybody, I don't know if much changes. I really don't know if much changes. I've watched a lot of Division I games. My son played for 3 years. Those rosters are still going to have the same numbers of players on them. The only difference is those players are going to have money. They're going to have scholarship money now. So I don't know if it's going to have an impact on I'm at Division I school up here in Northern California, and I'm on a scholarship. I have a scholarship right now. And am I going to jump in the portal because I'm not playing?
Yeah.
Or am I going to keep my scholarship if they'll allow me to keep it? So I think you might see an impact on the portal. Guys might jump in the portal if they lose their money, but it might encourage more kids to stay and stay in the program. And then you might see more development occurring, because I think that's the Division I with the guys that I talk to. They're just a lot of them frustrated by the fact that it's hard to develop guys at that level that aren't your everyday guys playing. And now your stars are even leaving. So they had to do something.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably a step in the right direction for them. As it trickles down to us, again, I don't know. It's a numbers game. So the roster sizes aren't changing. So there's still going to be the same number of guys at those schools. I don't know if more of them are going to, go there as opposed to, trickle down to the Division IIs, IIIs, and the NAIAs and JCs. But I would say if you're not getting money at a place, now it's going to be easier for me to recruit a guy. He says, hey, I'm talking to Loyola or whatever, not to mention anybody's school. I'm talking to somebody's school, and it's really easy. Are you getting money there? And if you're not, then maybe we're a little bit more of a bright spot for that prospect.
Right. Yeah, don't be the 34th man and the 16th pitcher. You can come here and be our number one or number two in a year.
Now, that doesn't mean every kid will get a scholarship too, because they may not. It's hard to get 34 people on a scholarship, to recruit that many people to come and then have them land and have their fanny in the seat in August. So you're going to find some teams that they only got to 29 or they got to 31. Some guys left and didn't come back and didn't return, and so there's going to be some movement. And I don't know enough about the current rule where if I can go pick up a guy at the break or maybe have a stable of walk-ons just in case that happens, there might be some of that going on. So it's interesting to see how this first year shakes out.
It's really interesting. I'm from the baseball side of it. I've got a Division I football prospect I'm working with now. So I've been really focused with him on football. And I just paid attention to the fact that they're giving 34 full rides to these schools. And I would imagine outside of some Power 5 schools, most schools are going to really balk at giving a baseball coach 34 full rides, because all of a sudden that's 23 more full ride scholarships. That's for a university, that could be $500,000 of budget they're losing or revenue they're losing.
There's no doubt. I'm sure that I know where I've used to work, where I've worked at institutions where we had scholarship money to give, just because the limit is 34,
right?
My school's going to say you got 34.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember being at Maryville, and we transitioned from Division III to Division II. And our president said, hey, we're going to transition into the Great Lakes Valley Conference, the number one conference in all of college basketball for Division II. Everybody's got 10 full rides. We're going to give you 1 full ride in year 1 and 2 in year 2. And I was like, what? It's like going into a gun battle with a pocket knife.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah.
So it'll be really interesting to see how the university presidents handled that at a Loyola or at a smaller Division I. How do you keep up with the Joneses
Yeah, I don't know all the answers to that for sure.
Yeah.
We're in business, create a bottom line of some kind that works, and that bottom line is definitely not the same for everyone. I fully anticipate there to be some movement in the NCAA from divisions. Every time something like this happens, there's people that say that's the last straw and we're going to move. And so that kind of happens every year. And I think that's the direction it's been going. If you watch football, it leads the way for what is coming. So
I wonder, since they're capping rosters, if there's going to be a conversation about capping transfers, where instead of telling a kid you can't transfer, giving them that freedom, but maybe telling the schools you can only bring in 25% of your roster in transfers I don't know where that's going to go. You look at some of these schools, like football, they're going from 120 to 130 kids on the roster down to 105.
Yeah.
Well, where do those other 25 kids go? They got to go into the portal. So
they do.
So now we're looking 5 to 10,000 kids in the portal. Does that go to 15 to 20,000? So where do all these kids go? So do you see that happening where you're going to see more talent on the market?
I would think so. I've always had an idea that there's a lot of talent out there that's untapped for whatever reason. And a lot of those kids, they don't even play.
Right.
They end up playing. Some of the kids that end up in the portal that are not playing are not playing for obvious reasons. They're not playing because they haven't developed themselves and they haven't kept up with the classes that they came in with. And so they've dropped off the radar a little bit. And if given the opportunity, then will they put their foot back on the accelerator to get back on a roster? And so when you see that kind of movement, what you mostly get, what we've seen, again, I don't know what the future holds, but what we've seen in the past is we've seen kids quit. Yeah. And so we'll see a reduction in the number of athletes that play sports, in all the sports, when those kind of rules happen. That's why I believe that when you're looking at these rules, you have to give, to me, it's paramount to give kids an opportunity to play the game that they went to college to play if it's not working out at the place that they're at. I don't want to lose kids that do genuinely want to play and just don't have a vehicle to find a place.
Yeah. And that's been my mission the last couple of years, is just trying to educate kids and families about really work to find the right fit. Don't get caught up in division level. Don't get caught up in athletic scholarship and NIL money, because you're going to get lost in that mindset.
That's right.
Look for a coach that sees you and your abilities the same way you see yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, that you're picking a place where you can be comfortable and get a great education, and there's an automatic relationship. It's just like dating. Typically, if you're on a date, I haven't dated in 30 years, but when you're on a date, man, you typically know in the first 5 to 10 minutes if you can connect to that person. And if you're talking to a coach and you're not connecting to that coach, and I'll throw this back at you, if you get on the phone with a kid and you're not connecting with that kid, what's your first thought? What's your next step when you feel that?
Yeah, we have several steps when we recruit here for the baseball team. So typically I'll have our recruiting coordinator will find him, or if he doesn't find him, one of us finds him, we send that recruit to him in terms of connection. And then he starts the recruiting process. He's talking to him on the phone and he gets an impression.
Nice.
Right? And so as he gets an impression, if we still like him, we're going to go to we have another guy on our coaching staff who was a scout, Major League Baseball scout for 20 years. So he is going to go now evaluate him, and he's going to look at his skills, and he's going to say, yeah, this guy fits. And then I'm going to meet him. So now with the three of us, we got a really good idea. I think he's got three cracks at, do we vibe with this guy? Is this guy on the same kind of wavelength we are? Is he a go-getter? Has he got the kind of energy we're looking for? Has he got the kind of respect level we're looking for? Does he have all those things? And then we bring him on campus. So I'm not trying to bring anybody on campus that I don't know about, that I haven't had our program connect with. Right. We're trying to hit 1,000 at home on the recruiting trail. I'd rather be 10 for 10 on the year than 10 for 200, and the 10 you connect with 6 of them. Yeah. I think those are things that happen. And so over time, that's what I've evolved to. at this current time. And if the scenery changes in the next year, 2, 3, I'm gonna change with it. I'm gonna keep right on moving and try and find out how to find the kids that we need to be successful, right?
You don't do it as long as you've done it. You don't stay at one place for 25 years without adapting. And that's what's impressive about what you've done and continue to be successful after year with that. Let's talk about that energy of that kid and the quality of that kid and what you're hearing. What are some of those things that get you excited when your two assistants have talked to a kid? Now it's your turn. What are you, when you hear that kid's voice for the first time, what gets you excited almost immediately about a kid?
A couple things. One is I like kids that are really competitive.
Me too.
And it doesn't have to be, it's not an outward thing. It's not a braggadocious. It can be. I don't mind that. But I want to see that a guy has confidence in his own ability. Hey, players here, and we got 2 people at your position, and one of them is a returning guy. And, hey, coach, I am looking for an opportunity. I just want a chance to, see if I can make the team and contribute. And again, it's not necessarily a humble thing. It's a confidence thing. They're just looking for an opportunity because they know if they get an opportunity that I'm going to like them.
Yeah.
That's in their heart. This coach can like me if he just will see me play and interact with his team. And so those kind of kids that are looking for an opportunity like that gets me excited about a player, because I know that this is a player that is going to stick, and they're going to be one of those kids that you tell one time.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
You used the word respect when we were talking about what you and your staff are looking for. What does that sound like to you from a kid?
It sounds like if you have that, then you have an awareness of all the people that have come before you and set this thing up for you.
Yeah.
You have an awareness of your folks and what they're doing for you to put you in a position to get good grades, to play for a quality coach, to be in a program, to have gone and played travel ball, or even if it was city ball, whatever it was. You have an awareness of what the sacrifices that people have made around you,
right,
put you in that position. And if you have that, then you're going to have an awareness when you're just reading a website. If they go online, if they never knew about Laverne and they read the website 10 minutes before they got here, they're reading it different. What they're pulling out of those articles is different than someone that's reading that article for what that school can do for them only.
That's right.
Oh, they're like, wow, I didn't know this place was around for this many years. And I didn't know that, wow, they've had a lot of success here. Oh, look, they've had a lot of good players. They're starting to get excited about the history of what's happened. So to me, that's what respect looks like.
Okay.
And you don't have to be in awe of it, but to have a healthy respect, I think, means that you're aware of others.
Yeah. It's like walking into somebody's house that's invited you in and not opening up the fridge and grabbing yourself something to drink.
Correct. Or rolling in the classroom the first day, and I look at Coach Rogers there and I say, "Hi, Matt."
That's right. I was just gonna ask that.
Again, a lot of guys call me Verne.
Yeah.
But when you're doing even when I was younger, I thought, do I know you? Are we friends? Did we hang out? I don't know what's going on. But I think that's called, and we do, I think, a pretty good job of that in this program, that's called leveling.
Yeah.
That's called leveling. And to me, that shows a lack of confidence. I'm trying to put you on my level, right? And that shows that I'm not confident in my own ability to keep you where you are in your space, and I can stay in my space, and we can really connect organically and let all the chips fall where they may. No, I got to knock you down a few notches onto this level to get respect from you. No, you don't have to do that at all. And then so we talk a lot to our players. We devote a great deal of time to really just talking and doing the things that we're talking about. And that, to me, is the foundation.
Yeah.
That is what transcends the swings and the throws and all the sprints and all the stuff that you do.
Yeah.
It's that understanding.
For me, I find myself, I'm such a big baseball fan. And I've been since I was 2 years old. I coached college basketball, but baseball's always been my sport. And that's why I loved having you across the hall for 3 years. Because I knew I was a step away from talking baseball. But I'm such an old school thinker. George Brett just came out and talked about how to hit the ball. And he's so frustrated with I think the average Major League Baseball hitter right now is batting 246.
Yeah.
And I remember in the 80s, if you were batting sub 260, there was a really good chance you were going to lose your job.
That's right.
And now the average hitter is 246 because angle of your swing and home runs becomes such a big part. We got Kyle Schwarber batting 198, leading off for the Phillies and taking them almost to the World Series last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you at with analytics and what's changed with the game at those higher levels, and just coming back to the basics of taking good swings, hitting line drives, hitting the ball where it's thrown as a pitcher, throwing strikes, being able to hit your spots? Where are you at with where the game has gone, and have you changed with it? Have you adapted with it, or have you taken pieces?
That's a really complex question. It has multiple layers really in the answer, but I hate to make always and never statements. I'm going to stay away from that on this one, but I'll say this. What you're seeing on the major league level is you're seeing the numbers reflect the intent of the players, and the intent of the players are reflected in the dollars that are spent in salaries and the communication that's happening from the analytics team on down into the coaching staff, with the coaching staff, and into the players. All right. When you tell players, we don't care what your batting average is, and we want you to produce as many home runs as possible, then they can pin their ears back and do that. And I would contend that for as long as baseball's been around, those teams have had players that can do that. They can say, they can forego a 300 average and give you 25 home runs. Yeah. They can do that, right? They just don't do that because that's not the way the game was played back then. Right. I think it's a poorer quality of offense. I agree. And it's definitely a poorer show for the fans, right? And then when you throw on top of that, if there's teams that can't afford to play that way, right? If you're going to hit home runs and I'm going to get home runs and you get more guys that can hit home runs and I'm going to pitch for strikeouts and we don't care about strikeouts anymore, so we're going to get guys that can throw strike, and so you're going to get more of those too. Right. So I'm still losing. So the smarter teams are the ones that say, look, we're not going to completely trash can the analytics. We're going to look at them, and because the analytics can tell you who has power, right, who makes contact, who's patient, who's a quality offensive player, who will move a guy over or stand in a bat long, who has multiple pitches. You can literally craft a team to beat those guys, because it's not about hitting home runs to beat them. It's about scoring more runs than they do today.
That's right.
And the smarter teams do that. And they get guys together and they put guys in a position to have a significant impact on their lineup every day. So I use the analytics because with each new wave of analytics comes, to me, it's just fascinating. First of all, I'm a baseball nerd. I've been saying, I was doing analytics when I was 9 years old on the LA.
Yep.
And that was our form of analytics. So
we had the numbers on the back of everybody's baseball card.
And we had the box scores every day.
And we had the box scores every day in the paper.
So you could pour over that information and really know those players.
Yep.
And they're doing that at a different level. They're trying to figure out what value is.
Yeah.
And to keep it as simple as possible, there's still no greater value than a run scored and a run prevented. There's no greader value than that. A run scored and a run prevented. Now, over a couple of games, you can't determine that, because I could beat you 20-2 today and then lose a close one. You'll think I'm really a juggernaut offense. I'm not. Right. Over the course of a whole season, there's value to runs scored and runs prevented. You use them to find those guys. I think we should be using more of the analytics to figure out a lot more since the game has changed. For instance, since the game has changed and our pitchers are just, especially our relievers in the major league level, they're just max effort every pitch. These guys are breaking, they're getting hurt at record numbers. We need to use the analytics in the same way to figure out how to use these guys and keep them healthier. You can't say, hey, look, we're going to change your intent, the way you throw the ball, that it was way different 20 years ago, 30 years ago and beyond. But we're going to use the old rules when it comes to how many days you're going to rest and how many days you go back to back, and then you get a day off. You got to reevaluate that.
Yeah.
right? And because these guys are pitching differently, and they protect those assets in the minor leagues. And then once they get to the major leagues, it's hey, use them till they break and then get another one.
It's just crazy to me. And I think analytics greatly affects the player, because if you're telling me this guy has a 2,500 rotation spin rate and mine is only 1,800, I've got to snap my wrist and my elbow even faster and even harder to try and keep up with that guy, even though I've been a really good pitcher because I can hit my spots and change my speeds. But now all of a sudden they're telling me I have to have more rotation on the ball.
Yeah.
That's obviously going to affect my elbow. It's obviously going to affect my shoulder.
That's right. And that's where you get hurt. We've known for years, you change an arm angle, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
You can't just change an arm angle and pat him on the butt and say, get out there, kid. See you later. You change an arm angle, he's throwing a whole new way. And so I've been into the facilities where they got the screens on the wall, and it's really awesome. Kids are throwing, you can see the spin axis and how many, and the rotation and all, and they got pictures of the release point and all that stuff. And that's great. But just because your ball spins faster doesn't mean you can throw it for a strike. And it doesn't mean that the batters doesn't see your ball better than he sees someone with less spin rate.
That's right.
From the numbers that, and then simple, we know from the numbers that the guys with the best spin rates in the game aren't necessarily having the best years.
Yep.
They may have had good years or whatever, but they're not necessarily having the best year. So just those things in and of itself, the guy with the most bat speed isn't necessarily squaring up baseballs.
Yep.
So finding how to, maybe the first step is just finding the analytics that you discover what you're doing when your pitches work. That might be a better use of, and a lot of people they do that. Hey, when I throw a good two-seamer, all right, when I throw a good sinker, what's that pitch like?
That's right.
You know? And so I'm trying to put that together, because we're both coaches. I mean, if you had $1 for every time somebody came flying down the court and made some move and you go, how'd you do that? I don't know. And then they never do it again. You're looking for that lightning in a bottle for somebody. And, and I think that's what the business of analytics is all about. It's trying to find out what that lightning in a bottle is, and then put that kid in a position where, they can use it.
It's about consistency. It's the great failure of my golf game. I cannot find, my backswing is different every swing. I'm going to hit the face of the ball different, the face of the club. I want to transition to roster building, because in my eyes, there's nobody better at your level than building a roster. So I'll go back to my old school approach. And I've talked about this numerous times on the podcast. As a Cub fan, it's hard for me to say this, but I'm such a big fan of what Whitey Herzog did in the early 80s with the Cardinals and even with the Royals. The idea of put a really great hitter up front, somebody that can get on base, steal you a bag, have a guy batting second that can hit behind a runner, lay down a bunt, have a guy that's third, that's great doubles guy, can hit you some home runs, and then you got your power hit at fourth. All of that's gone now.
Yeah.
How are you building a roster differently in terms of just your lineup and what you want your lineup to look like? And you look at what the Padres did mid-year. They were struggling. What they do, they go out and trade for a rise from Florida. And all of a sudden, they put themselves in a chance to go to the playoffs, because now they got a guy that's batting 340, gets on base 400 at the top. And all of a sudden, all those hitters behind him have RBI potential now that they didn't have before. How are you building out your roster from the hitters? And we'll talk about the pitchers next, but how are you building out your roster? Is it different than it was 30 years ago?
Yeah, it's a little bit different, just because I think the recruiting processes are different. I can't go to Albuquerque in March and bring up a guy or for a guy in the middle of the year. So when I'm building a roster out in the off season, I am looking for the guys that aren't coming back. I'm looking for the holes in my roster like everybody else, but I'm not necessarily trying to fill that roster with a third baseman.
Right.
I'm looking for an infielder, a guy that can play infield, that can hit, or maybe I'm looking for a left-handed hitter. We don't have enough left-handed hitting.
Right.
Need some. And I'm looking for a specific athlete, and we'll plug and play. And that, in that regard, that's the better formula for me, because if you're looking for a left fielder, it doesn't mean that left fielder is going to jive in any way with the lineup that you're bringing back. and that you're building for the future. So my recruiting focus is really on next best player, right? Next best player at not necessarily a certain position, but a close enough position. Next best player. And then you start that. If you really like the player that you're recruiting, I like his offense and he can add value. I don't necessarily look to add speed or add power unless I really am lacking it. And we've been in a place last few years where we've got good team speed, we've got good team pop, we're pretty good on defense. I am just looking for the next best player. I don't care if it's a speed guy or a power guy lately. But a couple years ago, before we made this run, like we needed some more sock.
Right.
So we started looking for some guys that potentially could hit some more doubles and hit the ball with authority and handle the middle of the lineup, and we found them.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily thinking when you're recruiting, you're not thinking, gosh, we really need a leadoff hitter or we really need a guy.
I will, if I'm looking at my current roster, and again, I haven't had to do this in a while. I'm looking at my current roster and I'm like, man, we really lack a leadoff hitter. Then I will go find a leadoff hitter. I'll go find a guy that I think can lead off.
Yeah.
Haven't had. So yeah, it specifically, like last year, I had two kids that threw almost 200 innings between them and they're gone.
That's a ton to replace.
Yeah, it is. You got to get 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah.
Because not only is one of those guys pitching 85, 90 innings the year before he pitched 100 innings, he's pitching the majority of those innings with a lead or in the majority of those innings winning baseball or close to winning the game. He's not coming out of the game ever, really, in the third inning of a start, trailing 7-1. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
So you got to get 3 or 4 kids because most kids can't pitch. They can throw that many pitches, but they can't be in the game that long and secure a lead. So you need those arms, and that's where our guys, we huddle and we say, all right, this is what we're looking for. Let's go get them.
I think it says a lot about the consistency of your success when you're not saying, I'm a speed guy. We're gonna win every year with stealing bags. We're gonna get on and we're gonna steal bags. Or I'm a homer guy. We're gonna go find the biggest bat we can find, and we're gonna win by home runs. You're looking at it going, I don't really trust what's coming back at catcher, third, and center.
Right.
I've got to find some kids that can play at those positions if we need them and to come in and compete with what we have. Is that the right mindset?
Oh, yeah, that's right. And like next week when we start, I'll walk into the room and I'll say, and a lot of the veterans will know this talk because I give it every year. Every person in this room is now different than they were last year. Every person, the returners, the incoming people, they are at a new place. The returning people at the same place, but their bodies are different. Their minds are more experienced. That can be a plus or a minus. We are nothing more than a bunch of guys that have to now figure out again how we're going to score runs and how we're going to prevent runs at the most effective way possible. What happened last year is over. It is not worth trying to repeat. It's not worth it. Because we may discover along the way that we play with some slightly different nuance, and that can be the key to big. You score 2 more runs a game. It doesn't seem like a lot, but over 50 games, those are the messages we send. So I don't know. I literally don't know next year. I have an idea, right? But I don't know exactly how we'll put together a lineup for games because we'll have to figure out what we have right now and play with that. So we have to be versatile. And if we got to play with speed, because that's what we have, then we'll shift in 2 seconds and play with speed.
Yeah.
And we'll push it. I'll bring in the run coaches and we'll figure it out, man. We'll get ready to do that.
Yeah. And I've transitioned as a basketball coach the same way over the years. I want to play a certain way, but you look at your roster, gosh, we've got 2 bigs this year. Man, we need to slow it down a little bit. We've got to take advantage of that size we have.
I'd love to play a wide open style.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stealing bags and taking third and stealing home and hitting and running and squeezing the defense tighter to the field and forcing you to try to hit it overhead. I'd love to do that, but if you're not built that way,
right,
you're going to lose games trying to force that instead of giving yourself the best chance to compete.
I love that you start the year with the conversation about everybody's different and everybody. You're not who you were.
I'm different.
You're different. Do the kids here Johnny had a fastball and a changeup last year. He spent the last 6 months developing his curveball.
Yeah.
He's got a curveball now that he could throw for strikes anytime he wants. He didn't have that 6 months ago. Daryl had 29 errors last year at third base. That's all he did all summer was take ground balls.
That's right.
He's a wall now.
Yeah, that's right.
Do the kids hear that in that?
Yeah, I think when you have once you have culture in your program, which is a lot of these schools don't understand. They interchange their coaches. Oh, you didn't win. Get him out of here. Get a new guy in here. They think this stuff just happens because you win to hit and run. So when you start getting some culture that precedes you, then you have a program full of players that are championing your mantras, right? Your absolutes. They're championing those things. Then they hear it because there's no more powerful message, which is why we have kids help with recruiting, right? And, hey, come meet this guy. He's a catcher too. He's a senior. You're a freshman. He's gonna show you the ropes. Like, it's powerful. When I hear that from somebody that's my peer, now it's giving credibility to all the things that are happening here, no matter how small the detail. It's giving credibility to it. So I always say, guys, like when I'm recruiting them, if I have them on campus, I try and have them on campus when we're going to have a lift, right? Because if they go and watch our lift is incredible.
You got Matty Durant. There's nobody better.
But all of our programs have Matt Durant.
Yeah.
All of our athletic programs have Matt Durant. What's been happening in the baseball program with Coach Durant in the last 10, 15 years, especially, it's just special. He's got a connection and our guys are dialed in, and it's impressive to watch it.
They bought into his energy.
Yeah, it's his team. Like I've let it. My first message to our team is, you're lifting now. He's the head coach.
That's right.
This is his team in here. And Matt, this is your team.
Yeah.
You make the necessary adjustments in the weight room. This is your team when they're in here. And then all the weightlifting goes, you start getting stronger. You start seeing these big gains. You're, oh my gosh, look how much I'm cleaning, or look how much I can press now, whatever that is. You just want to keep going.
Yeah.
And that brings 2 or 3 guys along. So the culture is so strong in there. You want a player to see that and say, look, this is how we're going to try and do it.
Yeah.
Here at Laverne. This is how we're going to try and do it. I don't know if it'll amount to wins on the leaderboard, but we think it does. So we're going to try and do it this way. And if you want to be a part of Laverne baseball, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like at its core.
I think it's a huge testament to what Laverne has gotten right over the years, with the fact that you're a D3 institution. You really don't see your kids for 5 out of the 12 months. You can't
That's right.
be on the field with them, can't be anywhere with them.
That's
the fact that you have another head coach for those 5 months.
Yeah.
Be with those kids and create that intensity like a D1 program has for 12 months.
Yeah.
How many other D3 programs can even say that they're
I've had D1 bounce backs that say, oh my gosh,
yeah,
this is awesome.
Yeah.
We didn't do this at my school. And I'm like, you didn't? And they're like, no, not like this. And it's not any more time.
Right.
It's not any more time spent. It's probably less than they're used to.
It's the difference.
What they're doing is much more intense and much more pointed and with great intent. That's it.
If you don't have Matt Durant, you're hoping your senior captain can rally the troops, get them in there, push them, create that intensity, and you're crossing your fingers that something good is happening because you can't be in there with them.
That's right. That's right.
It's a huge difference. Huge.
Yeah, it's a big difference when, I have a relationship with Matt. It goes way back. I trust him.
Yeah.
And I've let him know, like, mistakes are going to happen. We address this early on. Mistakes are going to happen. These kids they're tough. They're not going to break. And if something happens, it was your fault, just let me know. And if it's my fault, whatever, I'll let you know. We're going to fix it.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to grow and get better. So let's go out there and do what we can, and let's do the best job we can for these guys. It's carte blanche. Let's go for it. Let's keep researching. Let's keep studying. Matt, he's gone to the pitching boot camps, and he knows how to do all of it. He knows what the difference between baseball player and a football player. He knows the difference between a position player and a pitcher. You know, right? He knows how to do it all.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important, and it's super valuable.
Anybody that's listening to this, Matt Duran is the head strength conditioning coach at the University of Laverne now for what, 20 years, 18
Yeah,
years?
yeah.
And there really is nobody better, because what Coach Burns talking about here is Matt will go to all these clinics for every sport. It's not just baseball. He goes for track. He goes for football. He wants to learn, how do I develop the muscles for that specific athlete? And he does such a great job for it. So I want to make sure Matt gets his props here.
Yeah.
Coach, I could talk to you all day. I want to hit recruiting a little bit here to end,
Okay.
but you talked about culture, and I'm finding myself, college coaches bring up culture all the time. What is it? How do you define it? What does it look like to you?
Okay, so this is where, if I was going to write a book of significance like yours,
Let's do it. I'm all in.
If I was going to write a book, I would write about this.
Good. I want to hear it.
Because I think this is everything. This is family. This is kids, parents, cousins, uncles, companies, businesses. This happens to be what we're doing right now. Is we're playing baseball and we're going to school. For our athletes, we're doing those two things. If I ask every college athlete, what are the two things that take up most of your time in your life right now and that you're doing? They're going to say, I'm a college athlete and I'm going to school. Now, of course, they're a brother or a sister or whatever they are. They're a son, a daughter. They're all those things. But the two things they're doing that's taking up most of their time in their life right now is they're a college athlete and they're a student. So there's really no excuse to not absolutely focus on what's in front of you. There's no excuse for that. If you're not focusing on what's in front of you, that is a problem. And that's where we come in as adults to help them understand that, because they're not going hard in the suicide drill on the basketball court because they don't want to go hard. It's that they're fatigued and they want to stop trying. And it's that they want to stop trying. It's that you can have a conversation about without blowing your stack. You can have that conversation. And so for me, culture is about being all about what we're about. And if that means running hard down the line when I'm not looking, are you running hard down the line when I'm not looking? And are you holding yourself to that standard all by yourself? Do you want to do that? It has to be you. It can't be me, right? So culture happens there. I will work with any baseball player on our team after practice. I'll work with any of them, but they have to ask me. They have to ask me, because if I come to them, and again, what do I know? I've only been doing this 40 years, but if I come to them and I say, hey, let's work on your slider, they go, oh, okay, great. They're not listening.
That's right.
They don't want to work on their slider.
Right.
They might have had three other things on their mind. When they've wrapped around their mind, they've wrapped their mind around what they want you to help them with, and they ask you that, they're ready to work on that.
Yep.
Now that usually, as we know, that comes after failure.
Yep.
Usually comes after failure, and that's okay. All right. I'm still willing to help as long as they ask me.
Yep.
But I'm not chasing anybody down the street. So what ends up happening is your use of time on your early work and your one-on-one work throughout the course of a whole season, that gets really way more efficient because kids are asking, and we've got other coaches that can facilitate that as well. So culture is you wanting to do what we're all about. It's you wanting to do it, you valuing it. It's not me telling you. It's not giving them a book this thick and saying, here are the rules of the team, sign it, and I'm going to hold you accountable to every single rule. No, it is, do you want to do this stuff? Do you want to be the guy that not only runs hard down the line, if we're up in the box on this pitcher, you're up in the box. No questions asked. You don't even think about it. You just go to the front. Are we on the plate? Are we off the plate? You can tell. You got, hey, get on the plate. And a guy moves up a quarter inch on the plate. You're like, no. Move back in the box. And he takes a stick. No, he doesn't want to do it. So I'd rather call timeout.
Right.
And put a guy in that wants to do that. Because trust me, there's a guy on your bench that's going, I'll do it.
I'll stand right on the plate.
I'll go
Coach.
right through. I'll stand where you want me to stand. And when you show that's how it is,
Yeah.
Again, because people that don't know me, they might think, well, he's really strict and he's tough to play for. No, not at all. When your players learn, I'm not kicking anybody off the team for not standing in the back of the box. But I am going to switch players.
That's right.
I hope you get back in. I'm really pulling for you. Hey, I'm pulling for him too, though. So if he gets a double, I'm going to cheer for him too. I'm pulling for him too.
And he may get the next opportunity before you.
That was your fault.
That's right. You had the opportunity.
You had it. It was right. All you had to do was want to do those things. And again, I have grace all day long. I'm a big second chance guy. Like I can put up with so much failure. I can deal with it. It's part of the deal.
Right.
And so I want the same in return. I tell you, I'm going to make some mistakes this year with you, but I'm not going to make as many as you make. I'm just not. I'm going to make a few though. Yeah. And when I make a few, have some grace. Like I am trying to get you better. I am trying to get you better. So we may do some things that don't quite work out, but we're going to find out. We're going to lift up every rock and look under it. Yeah. And we're going to find the answers for you. And you'll play your best baseball that you've ever played here at Leopard. And that's because you want to do those things that you haven't wanted to do for a long time. And that's a big, powerful thing. And when you get guys that want to do it, now they're walking into a room and there's no coaches there. What are they talking about? What are they doing? If it deteriorates all the way to zero, you got terrible culture.
That's right.
Right? It's going to deteriorate probably a little bit, but it's going to pick back up with the right culture. You're going to have those strong leaders that are going to say, no, we're getting after this, what we're doing.
Yeah.
So that to me that's how we stay proud of each other after the fact. 10 years later, when a guy's going, Coach, I love you so much. Thanks a lot. I love you too. Hey, that's why we're telling each other that 10 years later, because we had that mutual culture together.
Yep.
We cared about it. And we learned that we cared about each other through that process.
Yeah.
That's powerful to me.
Yeah. It's still 25, 30 years later, when I hang up with a kid who's 42 years old and has 3 kids and making $300,000 a year as the CEO of this or that. And as we hang up the phone, he goes, love you, Coach. It still melts me into a pulp.
Oh, yeah. It stops you. I'll tell you, it really stops others too. My own family, like when they see, they don't always get a chance to see that interaction, but when they do, that's always powerful for them.
Yeah.
Dad, man, it's really great to see how much these kids just are together with you. And I'm like, yeah, it's just great. It is. I wish I was as knowledgeable at a younger age, but I just feel like that's part of the evolution. I think because you want to be a good coach, right? You want to be. That's a desire when you first start. You don't just want the wins for your resume. You want to be considered a good coach. You want someone to respect you. So I think wanting to do that is what the building blocks, they start stacking up because you want to get better. I mean, what drives you to write that book? What drives you to go say to yourself at the end of the season, okay, how can I get better?
Right.
I've been doing this a long time, but how can I be better next year? How can I build on another year? Okay, some routines never die. Go down to Barnes & Noble, start asking some friends, hey, what have you read lately? Read a couple books, stay current, do some of the things that stimulate that in you, and off you go.
I think that's where we're failing in our youth sports culture. My daughter, she's on her 5th club volleyball team in 5 years.
Oh,
she's 15 years old.
God.
And she never wanted to leave any of the 5 clubs. They basically, 11 girls on the team, 9 of them, they said, hey, great year. And we never heard back from them. They never invited us back. So we had to go look for another club.
Yeah.
So my question to them is, what are you trying to build here when every year you only have 2 or 3 practices a week, you only have 4 or 5 months together, and you're starting from scratch every single year in terms of building relationships and culture and discipline and understanding of what your program looks like. And the schools like you that have said, we're going to commit to you, Coach Winterburn, through the thick and the thin, because we believe in you. We know you're going to have bad years. We know you're going to make some mistakes. We know your kids are going to make some mistakes. Yeah. We know there's going to be some years where we're going to have a conversation about this or that. But when you've been doing it for 25 years, your kids are building that culture. When you step out of the room, your assistant coaches still have that same respect. When your assistant coaches step out of that room, they've got Matt Durant. When Matt Durant steps out of the room, you've got seniors. When the seniors walk out, you've got juniors. And that accountability starts with ourselves. But when it's constantly mirrored year after year after year and it becomes ingrained, now you've got something special, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's reasons why, if you look at the top professional organizations across the sports, certain organizations just tend to be in the upper echelon every year. They may not win the Super Bowl every year. They may not win the World Series or the Stanley Cup, but they have good programs year after year. They're winning teams. And then, of course, you realize that nobody wins it every year. Right. Nobody. But there's organizations that they just run through coaches and administration. Like, they just keep running through them, and they've got that false narrative. The team didn't win because we got to fire somebody. And now it's even written in the media. Someone's got to go, so it's usually the coach. Who made that rule?
Why does somebody have to go?
Why does somebody have to go? So if that's I think the stronger organizations, they're going to say, this is our coach.
Yeah.
That coach isn't going anywhere. She's not moving anywhere. This is our coach.
Yeah.
Right. And she's not going anywhere. So players, figure it out. Figure out what she's asking of you, and let's get it done. So I think that strength is what builds culture. That's what builds culture. And every once in a while, things happen. You got to make a change. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But I've always felt, even in the youth sports, like you alluded to the youth sports, right? We got to find a way to make, to me, more of an emphasis on your community and less on the national brand.
That's right. Yeah.
7. Okay.
It's so true. Why are we even having this conversation?
If each community focuses on really running the best programs they can possibly run, utilizing all the resources that they have. Most communities are rich in resources that they don't even know about. There's coaches in every community that have done things, and they could tap those resources and really build some really special things. And those kids would benefit from that. So from that continuity.
That's right.
They would benefit from that year over year. We want our kids to play next year.
That's right.
That's what we want. If our kids want to play next year, that's our biggest success.
That's right.
Where injuries can happen and things can happen personally in people's lives, wanting to spend your time out on a soccer field somewhere, or a football field, or basketball court, or baseball field, whatever it is, in the pool, that's the key. If I can see a kid that wants to do that, I know there's something quality going on in that program.
That's why the portal has become such a double-edged sword for me. I love that. I wish I would have had it 30 years ago. I wish there was a process where, when my coach got fired after my freshman year, I wish there would have been a process already in place where I knew, okay, I can go look if the coach coming in doesn't want me. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with a coach that wanted to bring in his own guys. So I sucked it up and hated life and hated myself and didn't pursue it. So I love the portal from that perspective.
Yeah.
But I don't like, it's like my kids, I'm teaching them how to play golf. We got to hit a shot over the pond. I just tell them, don't even look. Just look at the pin. Don't worry about that water in front of you. I tell recruits, imagine the portal doesn't exist. Imagine that you've got to go somewhere for 4 years and that's it. That's going to be your only chance. Yeah. That's how you need to go into this journey.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I was telling you earlier that, and I did want to tell you a little story about one of our players. And
please.
And this kind of alludes to that. So I had this kid a couple of years ago, and it's really about this time of the year. I would say it's August.
Yeah.
And probably end of July, he emails me, personal email, which I like, but it's late. And I mean, we're wrapped up pretty much we're wrapped up. We're full.
Right.
And hey, coach. So, and I'm coming to Laverne. I'm going to be a student. I've already enrolled. I'm from this high school over here. And I was hoping maybe I could get a tryout or any information on if you hold tryouts, whatever. I read it and I'm like, okay, if this kid's, my first comment is always, how come I haven't talked to you yet?
That's right.
You're a senior. You've already applied. Like, how come I haven't talked to you? Did you quit? Did you play 3 years ago? And I don't know what the story is. I'm not going to say I blew him off, but let's just say he wrote me another email. So he wrote me another email, and so now, okay, he's written me the second email. So I responded to the second email, said, sure, we can talk, but I'm going on a little trip. I'm going to go fishing. I'll be back. You're going to have to get in contact with me when I get back. He goes, okay, through email, right? So I go on my fishing trip, and then I come back the next week, and sure enough, he emails me again. I said, fine, I'll meet with him. So he comes in, and so he sits down, and I'm like, okay, what's the story? Tell me the thing. And so he's telling me all about it. And I was here, and I went to high school, and now I'm here, and I was just hoping I had a chance to play and show you what I could do. If I get a tryout, that'd be great. And I know you guys he said, all right, you guys got a great program. I just want to see if you make the team. After talking to him for about 25 minutes, now I like him.
Right.
So now I like the kid.
Right.
We talk about all those things like respect, humility, all those. He's got it in spades. He gets it.
Yeah.
It's clear that he gets it. So after he comes to Laverne and he enrolls, and so we start doing our stuff, and we have fundraising days in the fall, and the kids are lifting, and they work out on their own. And then one of my veterans goes, "Hey, coach, this kid's pretty good." I go, "He is?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "How good is he?" He goes, "Pretty good." I go, "Is he going to play?" He goes, "I think so. I think he's going to get some playing time." I go, "As a freshman?" He goes, "Yeah." Make a long story short, he is competing for some time right out of the gate. We come into January, February. We're competing, and one of our players gets hurt, and he's out for 2 months. We put that kid in. He starts the whole year.
Wally Pipp.
And it's beyond Wally Pipp. It's more, you know what? There's so many kids, and I don't mean this to be critical. There's so many kids that have no concept of how to have that interaction that happen like that.
Yeah.
I never met dad. I never met mom, which I do every time.
Right.
I never met Uncle Bill, the plumber. I never met anybody. The kid came in. He's the one that emailed me, personal email. He made the appointment. He came in. He had the conversation. I'm the one that's experienced at that conversation, not him at 17. He had the conversation. He asked for his opportunity. He wasn't ever asking me, how many guys do you keep on the roster? How many players are in front of me? Am I going to get an automatic roster spot? Do I get to wear number 12? None of that stuff. Can I have an opportunity? I'm going to be here for 4 years at school. This is a kid's made his mind up. He's coming to Laverne. He's going to graduate from here.
Yeah.
This is the school he's chosen to come to.
That's right.
If baseball doesn't work out, he's going to go to school here.
Yeah.
Where he's going to go to school. And he wants desperately baseball to work out.
Yeah.
So he's going to do everything he can to make that happen. Now, talk about something that gets you going as a coach, right? And this guy, his freshman year, by the end of the year, he's running all of our defenses. He's doing all of it. He's not hitting a bunch of home runs.
Right.
He just plays baseball.
Is he catcher?
No, he's shortstop.
Shortstop?
And to me, if I was going to tell a parent how the kid should feel, that's how a kid should feel. People have different personalities. To have that confidence in yourself, to put yourself out there by yourself, to go have that conversation, not have anybody, no one's doing anything for him. Right? I don't know if that's out of necessity or not, but he's taken it upon himself, and he's played like that since he's been here and conducted himself like that. He's not person you're calling saying, where's this, where's that, how come you didn't get this? It's all done. All of it, all the time.
Hunger, humility, internal fire.
Yeah, I don't even think it's not about what's after here. This is where I want to be. This is what I want to be doing. And talk about a guy that can focus on what's in front of him in spades. That is focusing on what's in front of you, is having those conversations, having those interactions, totally focused on what you're doing all the time. And those kind of kids are the calmest kids on the team. They're super calm. Why? Because they've done it so many times. They don't know how to do it any other way.
That's right.
So they're not, if it's a basketball player, that's the kind of kid that he just goes in, and when he gets his opportunity, and Ball comes to him, it swings to him, and he puts it up, and he can make half his shots from the 3-point line. They're gonna go in.
Yeah.
He's just done it so many times the right way. Knows how to practice, knows how to get himself ready. That's what you get. And as well as I do. That has nothing to do with height, weight, none of that stuff. Those things are all a bonus or a detriment, but none of them are super important to your performance. They just aren't.
I was going to ask you your advice to give to kids and parents going through the recruiting process, but I don't know if you can say it any better than what you just did. And honestly, I'm not sure the advice and the story isn't equally great advice for coaches, high school, college, pro, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Because we all need to remember that if there's a kid out there that really wants to be a part of it, really wants to work, and really wants to be that kid that's going to take accountability and be humble and take what's given and earn what's given, that is the beginning of a great culture when you have 1, 2, 3, 10 kids like that.
It really is. Maybe the thing that we may miss on kids like I just described is maybe this kid just wasn't recruited.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom for him.
Yeah.
It's like, no, nobody wants me.
Yeah.
So I got to make my own way. So when you make the decision to make your own way,
yeah.
Now you're willing to ride the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Willing to get on, strap up, and ride the roller coaster. But some of our top recruits are the ones that are the most fragile. We know that.
Yes.
They've been recruited by everybody, and they want everyone to tell them they're going to start and bat third, and it doesn't work. Nope. It doesn't work that way. That person's a lot of times not equipped for the downs. Yeah. Everybody's equipped for the ups.
You're right.
High five's not hard when it goes in. It's a bumpy ride. When I recruit, I tell recruits 3 things. We'll coach you. You'll get an opportunity. It's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done athletically. Period. Yep. That's the promise. You're going to bat against left-handers? No. Favorite number? No. None of that stuff. I can't promise you're going to make the travel roster. I'm not going to promise you start, or you're going to platoon, or whatever. You're going to pinch it. I can't make that determination. We're going to play the best 9. We're going to play them all the time. Travel roster is going to be a 30-ish. Playoff roster is 25. I hope you're on it, but we'll coach you. You'll get an opportunity every day that you're here, every week that you're here, and it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done athletically by far. It's not going to be the hardest thing personally, because we've all had personal tragedies and things that happen, and kids are not immune to those things. So those things, that's what we're here for. We're here for those other things off the field to help those kids through it. But as far as having to be somewhere and on time and multiple times and effort, and it's going to be the hardest thing you've ever done athletically. So be prepared for it. And that way, when you get here and you're in your 4th week and your body's sore and your brain is sore and you're talking to mom on the phone, man, this is really hard. Mom's going to say, he told you that in the recruiting meeting. Oh yeah, that's right. He did tell me that. I think, especially for young coaches, if I had advice for young coaches, I would stay away from trying to tell them one thing. This is how amazing it's going to be every day. Yeah. And not knowing that, hey, this is going to be hard for them. So I think if they're ready for that, they're ready for the challenge. After all, what kind of kids sign up for the hard things?
Yeah.
The confident ones that want to do it.
That's right.
No one signs up for the marathon.
Yeah.
Unless you want to do it.
That's right.
So I think that's where I would focus my advice, if I have any, for what it's worth.
It's fantastic advice, and why I started this podcast, hoping to get that type of message to more families. Because at the end of the day, if you don't understand that your resume doesn't matter when you step on that campus for the first time, everything you've done up to that point doesn't matter.
That's right.
It can't help you anymore. And if you don't come in and say, I don't know anything about baseball because Coach Winterburn is going to teach me how to play. Yes, I can swing a bat. I know how to put my glove on. I know how to take ground ball. I know how to throw. Yeah. But I have to come in understanding that I'm going to learn everything different. I'm going to learn how to study differently. I'm going to learn how to lift differently. I'm going to learn how to run the bases differently. If you don't come in with that mindset, you're setting yourself up for failure. You've got to assume that the people you've signed up for know the game differently and know the game better, and are going to teach it to you if you give them that opportunity. Right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a loss of identity in
Yeah.
team play. There's no loss of identity. No one has any problem recognizing you and knowing who you are.
Yeah.
They just don't. And when you're looking at what your impact is going to be as a person, right? The more that you fall back in the spiritual furniture of the team, right? And you're able to just absorb all the things the team is trying to do to have a successful minute, right? And you can lose yourself in that process, then you actually look like the best version of yourself that you've ever looked like. You really perform at this level up here.
That's right.
That's what ends up happening. So there's no loss of identity. There's a gain.
Yeah.
Right? You've gained an identity because now you have a team identity to go along with an individual identity. Yeah. You don't have to lose your individual identity over being a member of a team.
Right.
But you have to gain the team identity in order to grow.
That's right. Such great advice. Such a great perspective for kids and parents to understand that. Okay, come in. You're going to listen 10 times more than you talk. You're going to absorb everything. Listen to everything. Watch everybody. Get into that mode. And eventually you're going to find your role in that world.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're going to find where you're a strength, where there already was strength. You're going to find that you're strengthening that chain, that team, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is a competition. So you have to be better than someone to get in there. And a lot of times people cut short that. You're here, it's your first year, and you're like, hey, I think I'm better than that guy that's playing. Yeah, but that guy's been here 2 years, and he's not playing just because he's a junior. He's playing because you're not hands down better than him.
That's right.
And the coach knows what they're going to get from that junior. So they're willing to have a little more leeway or put them in a position where they know they can succeed and roll with that. So the only way to climb over that is to be better than that, to be hands down the best option for the team. And if you're not, it's not personal. Hence, that's where your opportunity lies. So when the coach says, hey, you can do a lot better with your bat path, when it's time to go home and the batting cage is to the right and the parking lot's to the left, you better turn right.
That's right. That's right.
And go work on that bat path.
That's right.
Because there's nothing more exciting to a coach, and young players, listen to this one. There's nothing more exciting to a coach than giving some tips or putting a guy with his swing or with his fielding or whatever shot, and the next day you come back, that person has improved. And because you can improve with a bunch of reps in one day. You can
Amen.
improve.
Hallelujah.
One day. And I always say it's not even the reps, it's the 5-second decision that you make to do it.
That's right.
To be better. I'm going to be better at this. Yeah. That 5-second decision is what got you better. So we say you got to turn right a lot in our program. You got to turn right, but you can't just turn left and expect to get better.
I love it. Yeah. It's the phrase I've been using for kids all the time. I go, I just decided to ...
Right.
Fill in the blank. What's the next part of that? I just decided to what? Turn right or turn left, right?
Yeah. You might not be able to be an All-American today, right now, by just choosing it.
Right.
But you can jump down on the floor and bust out 50 push-ups.
That's right.
You can go hit some balls. You can go take some shots.
That's right.
You can improve your intent with those things. Those are things that they're easy concepts to understand. Sometimes they're hard to follow through with. The hard part is following through, but they're really easy to understand. We're in a society where we're just really easy and we're on the phone all day long. So we understand concepts. We think we're scrolling through and we understand. Oh, I understand that. I understand that. I understand that. Then you say, okay, do it. And you can't do it because you don't know it. And you have to, we're still in a place where the most polished people are the best performers.
That's right.
So you only get that polish by going out there and applying yourself to earn it.
And it, like you said, it starts with 5 minutes, not 5 hours. 5 minutes a day to make your bed. Do those 50 push-ups.
Whatever it is.
Take 20 swings off of a tee.
Yeah.
Right? Take 20 ground balls before you go home. All of a sudden, you've done that 5 minutes a day every day, and you're a better ball player.
There's no doubt.
You're a better student.
There's no doubt. That's a fact.
So, again, you're preaching what I preach. Just do it. Commit to it every day. It doesn't have to be your whole day, but you've got
But
to.
again, this is what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking you to do anything that you haven't committed to already.
That's right.
Because if you're not committed to it, don't commit to something else.
That's right.
But the guy that says, you know what, I don't have it in my heart anymore. I don't have time to play baseball. I'm gonna focus on school. Talk with my folks. We decided we're gonna focus on school. And my first comment is, you mean all the guys on our team aren't focused on school?
That's right.
They're all focused on school.
They're all focused on school.
All of them. So what they're doing right now is they're in school and they're playing baseball. There is no reason that you can't focus on both. So not focusing on both. So putting that extra time is a necessity, because that's what you're doing right now. Because if you were working 40 hours a week and getting paid, you'd be putting in extra time.
That's right.
Try to make sure you're on top of your job, whether that's taking a new certification, going on a business trip, making a sale, whatever it is that you do, going and picking up stuff and bringing it back to the job site. All that extra stuff is extra time. And that's how you stay focused on your job. And you can't tell me that you're gonna somehow miraculously metamorphosize because you're getting paid.
That's right.
It doesn't happen that way. Nope. You're building habits right now that are going to stick hard. So I would advise you to make the habit of assess the situation, see what you need to do to improve yourself, and then go do that today. And just do that and put a time limit on it. Yep. Go do it for an hour or 30 minutes or 40 minutes, whatever it is. I don't think you can get it done in 5, but 5's better than 0. But I mean, you go down there and you do it and you find a time every day to work on something, because here's the reason: this is what you're doing right now. This is what your job is right now. You've chosen this as what you're doing. So do it. Coach, I got to work and I need money for school. So do I. So do I. So does everybody. Every single person here has a busy schedule. Everybody. And I bet you the person that's saying I'll bet you I can find 10 people right now within a mile radius or within our team that have a harder schedule than you right now. So it's not an excuse. So find that time. People say, I have time studying. Hey, get up at 4:30 in the morning. No classes, no baseball going on, no weightlifting going on then. Go to bed early on Tuesday night, wake up on Wednesday morning, make that your morning of study every week. You make sure you get to bed, you get ample rest, and you set that alarm, and you get up and you take a shower or cold plunge or whatever you got to do and now you're raring to go. And guess what? You can bang out 4.5 hours of homework.
That's right.
And don't feel sorry for yourself while you're doing it. Instead, feel pumped. Like you have discovered the fountain of youth in this endeavor that you're undertaking. This is your holy grail. This is how you get A's, and you've discovered it. And that way you're not running around stressed all the time. You're actually doing what's in front of you. And you're just going to sleep really well at night knowing that. So I think those are just, again, I've said this, I know I've repeated it, but I have said in the last few years, when asked if I could narrow down our purpose as coaches, to me, it's helping young people focus on what's in front of them. Yeah. Truly. Yeah. That's hard. Yeah. That's it. Again, easy concept. People walk away from this, say, I get that. That's great. I'm going to write that down. Really hard to do because we don't do it. There's so many people. We have trouble doing that. But if we can learn to focus on what's in front of us, our lives improve greatly in those areas. So to me, that's a sense of purpose for me.
It's a great purpose.
Which you called significance. I read that, which is such a powerful word. I thought about that after I read that, how true that is. Wow. Great word.
I love it. It was taught to me. I had somebody 30 years ago stand in front of a room with a bunch of young kids and said, take out the word success from your vocabulary and replace it with significance. And she explained why. And it's stuck with me for years and years. Coach, I am so thankful for you and the time you've given me today, but so thankful of the 3 years I had with you across the hallway, and your friendship and your advice and your wisdom, and so proud to call you a friend.
Likewise, my friend. Likewise.
And so proud to see what you continue to do and the lives that you're changing. But thank you so much for giving me this time today. It has been a pure joy.
Hey, all I can say is to that is anytime you get an opportunity to chat with a friend about things that you love to talk about and things that you have an affinity for and a passion for, you just can't beat it. So I just appreciate the opportunity for having me on here today, Matt, and a chance to just sit and visit with you. It's been a while, and I loved catching up with you. That was great.
Me too. And for me, I do this because there's so many great unknown gems in our country, and you're one of them.
For sure.
The West Coast know you're one of the great coaches in the United States, not just baseball, but across the world in every sport. And anybody that's got a chance to watch your teams play or watch your teams practice or compete or listen to you speak, they're going to get better. So thanks for sharing today, Coach. It means a lot.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Significant Coaching Podcast. I'd like to thank my longtime friend and former colleague, Scott Winterburn, head baseball coach at the University of Laverne in Southern California. I greatly miss our daily talks when our offices were right across the hallway from each other. If you are enjoying these conversations, I encourage you to subscribe on the platform of your choice. If you are interested in working with me or scheduling me to speak at your school or organization, you can schedule a free strategy session at coachmattrogers.com. Thanks again for listening. Have a significant week. Goodbye. Until next time.